me 50 grand because I kept my word, and he's got one fight left with us. So I was very disappointed with his comments because, again, we've always backed him, and I feel like we've done an absolute unbelievable job. He's the fighter, he deserves all the credit, but we have helped him change his life. And if we would have sat down when we started this journey together, knowing that at this stage in his career he'd be here, he would have earned this amount of money, and he'd be having 2 defences of his world title, having won British, Commonwealth and European titles, I think he would have thought that would be an absolute dream come true. So, like I said, he has a fight left on his contract. We're talking to his team. His lawyers acknowledged to have a fight left on a contract, and we'll see where it goes.
Awkward for you to work with him after that?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I really don't appreciate the comments because, like I said, when you've behaved in a certain way to a fighter, you've given them every opportunity, you've been true to your word, you've got him in fights where fights have fallen through, you've backed him after, getting stick from fans about putting him up the card or whatever, and I really feel like he's a great fighter. He's had an offer, as I said to you the other day, Sky Sports made him an offer. They want him to be the face of Sky Sports Boxing. I've got the proposal, and that's what it says on the front. So he might feel that that's a big opportunity for him, and obviously he'd be more of a priority there than he would be maybe he feels on our global roster. But it doesn't matter, you still have a fight left under your agreement, and with all the investment that we've made and the job that we've done, and when we see comments like that, yeah, it's disappointing.
Eddie, if Chisora's going to win this fight, what's he got to do differently than he did against Park in the rematch?
He's got to start faster. He's got to be effective in the clinch. He's got to be effective up close, and he can't afford to get frustrated by Kubrat Pulev. Pulev is a very good stand-up, jab and grab boxer, and he will frustrate Derek Chisora. You don't want Chisora getting through 7 or 8 rounds, almost not sulking because he's not going to do that, but not being able to do his work. And Pulev is very strong. You feel that when you shake his hand. And he will have the ability, as we saw in the first fight, to tie Chisora up. Chisora can't allow that to happen, so he's got to be effective early. He's got to set a very fast pace, and he's got to be relentless. He can't afford to take his foot off the gas.
Do we know his trainer for this fight?
I believe it's Don Charles.
And just reports from Gareth Davies yesterday that AJ Usyk's going to be on Sky Sports. Accurate?
Yeah, I'm not involved in that process, but by the amounts of reports you've seen, sounds like it could be. Obviously, we're not involved in that process. Been 5 or 6 broadcasters bidding for that. 30 million, was that the number or something like that? Sky have paid 28 million. So yeah, it shows you the value of the fight.
Eddie, Sonny Edwards, Julio Cesar Martinez. Thoughts on that fight, and how far down the line are we?
We are just in the stages of making them an offer, really. We've made them an offer for that fight. I like the fight. I feel that both those guys need a unification. Both tremendous fighters. You've got the history, of course, between Julio Cesar Martinez and Charlie Edwards as well. And I think it's a tremendous fight. We'll see if we can get it made.
Also, Conor Benn, I know we spoke the other day, Keith Hearn was the name. Any update on that?
No, not yet. I think there's a chance we could announce his next fight at the end of this week. But we will see if we can get that made.
Is Furman realistic given your relationship with PBC?
Yeah, I've made loads of fights with the PBC. Louis de Cubas and I have a good relationship. Ultimately, Charlie, it always comes down to money. There'll be a number that Keith Furman wants to fight Conor Benn. And if we hit that number, they'll take the fight. And if we don't, we won't. It's generally how it works. And, we've done it a lot with PBC. Probably the most famous was Charles Martin for the world heavyweight title against Anthony Joshua. They gave us a number, we paid it, and the fight was made. So,
if it's not Keith Furman, what sort of name can we expect? Obviously, we see Ramirez is tied up now, Eubank Jr. linked to the Liam Smith fight. Not really sure how that would pay out weight-wise. What can we expect for Conor Benn if it's going to be a big fight?
I think that list of Thurman, of Ugas, of Barros, they're all guys that we want. I know the Chris Eubank rumours spin around. It's not a fight we're close to making. We appreciate the size of that fight, but I think Conor's focused on the welterweight division, and I guarantee you, end of September, early October, he will be in a huge fight.
Eddie, what's your expectation level of the pay-per-view sales for Usyk Joshua 2 now that it's landed on Sky Sports as per reports?
The first fight did 700,000 buys, so around the same. 800,000.
If my math is correct, then that would be a loss in terms of the amount of money that they've put at the £20 price rate.
Well, maybe they put the price up. I don't know, but at the moment, the way the boxing industry is going in the UK, people are prepared to make it a loss.
What price would you put the pay-per-view had it landed at?
The price that you just said.
Eddie, what's the latest on Babbage?
Babbage, I'm actually working on Babbage's next fight. It's almost like you've just gone through my WhatsApp because we're talking about his next fight for September. We have a bit of an issue with Fabio Wardley. Ibe was refused, so we have a replacement opponent, and I want to like to try and make a little bit of a heavyweight card for September with Gorman against Wardley. I think it's a really good fight for the British heavyweight title. Joe Joyce is still the champion, but obviously he's not going to defend that belt. He hasn't defended it for I think 2 years, and I'd like to do Babbage up there, maybe even against Dave Allen. I keep getting people hound me about that fight every day, so we'll see.
Who's Wardley fighting?
At the moment, we're just finalising an opponent. We have a couple of opponents here with a board that we're looking to clear.
Eddie, if I'm correct with the numbers, just going back to that, the last Sky Sports pay-per-view for Anthony Joshua did around 1.4 million.
Which fight?
That would be Ruiz?
No. But Ruiz did $1 million.
In that sense, then, with the disparity of 300,000 there between Sky Sports and DAZN, does it kind of show how much a machine can pump out from Sky Sports' side with their platform?
Or disparity of what?
The numbers between the 700,000 that you mentioned that
Usyk.
Usyk did, and then
They were both on Sky.
my bad. My apologies.
No worries.
Ebanie Bridges has been saying that she's quite frustrated, was meant to be out in summer, apparently it was promised, only 2 months left of summer. What's happening there? When can we expect to see her out?
She was supposed to fight in August or September, and she will fight in September. September the 3rd is the date that I believe she'll be fighting. She'll fight twice this year, and I think the first one will be a voluntary defence of the title, and December will be a unification. Had a good meeting with her yesterday. You kind of get to a point in the summer where you're planning September, October, November, December, and all of those shows are being planned now, and that means that all of those fighters that are ready to fight are being slotted in all those cards. So over the next week or two, particularly, we get hounded more than ever by people saying, do I have my date yet? Do I have my date yet? But September, I believe we have 2 shows. October, obviously, we've got Saudi, August 20th, got Canelo Triple G, September 17th, and then November, December in the UK as well.
And how close are we to Australia happening?
Very close. It's not for Ebanie. You know, she's made it clear to me that she doesn't want to fight in Australia right now. Because I think she's moved her life over here. You know, she's become a very popular figure over here. She's built a great profile in the UK, and probably a much bigger profile than she has in Australia, because this is where her focus has been. We talked yesterday, we don't rule out a fight for Ebanie Bridges in Australia, but right now the next 2 fights, well, certainly the next fight will be in the UK, and then December will be UK or America, and then her aim is to be undisputed. She wants to go through the other champions. You know, when you look at it, you've got Dina Thorsland's a good fight, you've got Luna, the Mexican champion, and you've got Jamie Mitchell, our other champion. So hopefully by the time we get round to Jamie Mitchell, it could be an undisputed fight.
Eddie, Jake Paul announced his fight with Hasim Rahman. Does your offer that you made in April to him to fight anyone in your stable under 10 fights remain the same? Or are you going to up it now he's fighting?
I don't think they're going to take Chev Clark or John Hedges or anyone they want. Solomon Dakers, he's ready. I think it's a good opponent choice, to be honest with you. Clever. Because Hasim Rahman, he is a boxer, and we take our hat off to Jake Paul for that. But he sparred him before. He just got knocked out by Tommy Morrison's son. But I think he's all right. It's good. I mean, these people, MVP, they're good operators. You know, we worked with him on Taylor Serrano. They've spun here. You know, they've had a terrible mess with Tommy Fury. They've spun off the back. They've come out the other side. They've got a credible opponent, and off you go. They've done a good job.
If he's fighting these type of calibre of opponents, winning records, professional boxers, would you consider them working with him again?
He won't. I don't think he would want to work with me on the boxing. You know, with his career, of course, yes. I have no problem with Jake Paul. I think he's. You know, I like what he's doing. My only ever comments were, I don't believe he'll become a world champion or beat Canelo Alvarez. I don't feel like that's such a bad prediction. But, you know, again, like Hasim Rahman Jr., these kind of guys, that's a credible fight for someone who's had a couple of fights. So you take your hat off to him.
Eddie, 2 from me. Tommy's declined the 500k offer, said he wouldn't get out of bed for that money. Just your reaction to that in the UK?
I think he was making 2 million, wasn't he, or something like that?
They said Jake Paul said that he'd do the fight again later to the date.
He was making 2 million
for
the original fight.
The new one, 500k.
The problem Tommy has is the only fight for him that can generate that kind of money, even around 500,000, is Jake Paul. So Tommy really needs Jake Paul. And Jake Paul needs Tommy as well. The 2 of them make a good fight. So we'll have to see. The problem is that you know, to do it over in the numbers don't add up when you're talking about, you know, heavy US revenue, doing it in the UK and doing it on a different time zone. So, you know, it's US centric, Jake Paul's finance or revenue streams. So he has to really do it in the US on prime time with Showtime.
And then in the States, when you were doing the huddle with Jake, we asked him about potentially working with DAZN. He said that was something that he was willing to explore, something that you guys were in talks with. You've just said you'll never sort of work with him on his professional boxing career. He's with MVP.
Yeah, but he can do his own deal with DAZN. He doesn't need me to do a deal with DAZN. He had a lot of conversations with DAZN around the August 6th slot. And I'm sure those conversations will continue. So he doesn't need me to do a deal with DAZN. But, you know, in terms of promotion for his fights, maybe he doesn't need me either. I'm not, you know, I'm easy not to be involved. I did his professional debut. I think that's a nice claim to fame for me.
Just finally from me, Oleksandr Usyk, we know that you co-promote with K2 Promotions. If he is to beat Anthony Joshua, will you still be in a co-promotional contract with K2?
No, this is our last fight promotionally with Oleksandr Usyk, so AJ better do the business.
2 from me. AJ, rumours are circulating that he may quit boxing if he loses this next fight. Is that true?
I would be shocked. AJ has a very, you know, he loves fighting. Boxing's everything to him.